Hey guys, new day, new problem. Today is related to string manipulation, if we can call it like that. There's a problem 1576 where we need to replace all the question marks characters to avoid consecutive repeating characters. So what does this mean practically speaking? Let's take an example. We have a string s, which is basically question mark zs. Obviously, we can use a, b, or 25 other solution because we have 26 letters, and only z or z is invalid because if you put a z before, it will be a consecutive repeating character, and you don't want this, so you can put it from a to y, any one of those characters. Now in the second example, here you can see that you can't put a v because else you would have 2v, so 2 consecutive characters, and also you can't put a w, else you would have 2 consecutive w, which is not good. So you can have, well, in this case 26 minus 2 different characters, which is 24 solutions starting from a to b to whatever letter you want, except from v and w. Example 3, a little bit more tricky, I would say, and well, you need something different than j and q. Here it's something different than j, but this one also, well, this one will need to be different than the previous one, and then b. Okay, so how are we gonna solve this? And basically what we are gonna do as we solve this in Golang, we're gonna use a slice of run that will be a slice of run of s, of the string s. We're gonna loop through it, test each character to see if we are matching with the question mark character. Obviously, if we're not matching with this character, we don't really care. But if we're matching, now that's a good part. How can we do that? How can we test these characters? How can we modify them, basically? And the idea here, if you think about it, there are a couple of scenarios. Well, actually, there are 3 scenarios. The first one, if you start the string with a question mark. So you don't need to compare it with anything else before, but you need to compare it with the next character. So here you can test if the next character is for example, I don't know, something. It's something, but you can compare it to a range of characters, as we'll speak about in just a minute. In the second case, or second scenario, we have question mark that is preceded by a character and followed by another character. And the third scenario, which will be this one, is where you have a question mark at the end of the string, and obviously this question mark at the end of the string doesn't need to compare with anything after it because it's the last character. So you only need to compare it with the previous one, right? So when I say compare it, how can we do that? Now think about it. We don't want to have consecutive characters. So if you think carefully about it, a combination of 3 different characters, can basically always confirm, always validate this condition, right? If you take ABC, let's write it down here. So if you have something like that, let's put 3 question marks, right? Or maybe A and B. So you have a string S, which is basically A, question mark, question mark, question mark, B. And if you have, let's say, a choice of one of those 3 characters, A, B, C, or I don't know, D, E, F. The fact is, you can see with just 3 characters, you can always confirm this condition, right? So if you write A, B, A, maybe not B because the next one will be B, A, B, A, C, B. This is perfect. With just 3 characters, again, we have confirmed this condition. So we can use DEF, we can use basically any 3 characters. It doesn't really matter. So what we're gonna do with this information now is we're gonna do a quick for loop and test each character and compare it to the next one or previous one, depending on one of the 3 cases that we talked about, and see if it's equal or not equal, and then we modify the question mark character. So let's see how we write this down. I'm gonna create a slice run of s. I've called it slice run because, well, it's not good to have those long names in Golang, but just to make it, cleaner and clearer. Okay, and then we loop through this guy. So we start at 0 and we continue till I is strictly inferior to the length of slice run, and then we obviously increment I by 1 at each step. Okay, so we have the first condition. This is the condition that all scenarios needs to respect, at least, obviously, is that we have this character that is equal to a question mark. If it's not equal to question mark, we don't care about it, right? Perfect. So if slice run of I is equal to question mark, what do we do? So here we're gonna use the information we talked about, the 3 possible consecutive three characters that are enough to verify the consecutive condition of the exercise. So we're going to create a loop. We're going to loop through those 3 for underscore char in the range of A, B, C. We could use something else, but let's go with ABCs. Those are the 3 first letters. And obviously we don't care about the index of this range, so that's why you use an underscore, but we care about the character in itself, so A, B, or C, right? So what do we do? Then we have the condition we talked about. The first one, we said that if we have I equal to 0, okay, what do we do? We have I equal to 0, so we are at the first character of the string. So we need to check the next one, right? So we check if slice run of I plus 1 is different than char. And if it's different than char, so it's basically different than A or B or C, right? We do what? Well, this is a perfect candidate in this case. So we're gonna do what? We're gonna say that slice run of I is now equal to char, right? And here, as we have finished this condition, we can basically break the loop. Why we break the loop? Because if we don't break it, it's gonna loop through A and B and C. And if A, for example, or C or whatever character it starts with, it respects this condition, we don't need to loop through the 2 others. Basically, the break is not needed, but definitely it's much better to have it because it makes no sense to loop through something that is not needed, right? Okay, so this is the first condition. We said there is another condition. Let's start with the first one and the last one, where we have the last character as a question mark, and basically there are no other character after it. So in this case, it will be I plus 1 equal to the length of slice run, okay? And then here we can add an or. And what does this mean? This means that we need to put it with the other condition where the previous character is different than A, B, C, A or B or C, okay? So here we can put an or, and we're gonna say, same as the previous condition, I minus 1 instead of plus 1 is different than char. And if that's the case, well, same thing, we're gonna assign slice run I, which is basically the question mark, to the new character. And now the last condition is if we are in the middle with the previous and a next character, and in this case, well, it's also verified by this guy and this guy, okay? And obviously in the end, we need to return a string. So what do we return? We return string of slice run. So normally this should work. Let's run the code. You know, those are test cases. So that's pretty good in Leetcode. Usually what I do myself is that I use Vim in parallel. Well, not in parallel. Well, I use Vim when not making the videos. And I use it, for example, when I want to showcase some test cases and how to do testing for the Leetcodes. But now I'm just solving the problem quickly, so no need for that. And if you run the code, let's test it. Let's see if it works. Judging, and it is working. And you can see that our beautiful function has replaced the question mark with a, and then b, and then a, and then a, because a and c. And it's funny because in that function it's expected a c, but again, who cares? Those conditions are all verified. So if we submit the problem, let's see if we can have a pass, and hopefully we should have one. And this is good. Time complexity is O of n. Yeah, O of n, I guess, because we're just doing well. There is this here, this basically this ABC, this for loop, but this is a constant. I mean, we don't care about the constant, so I will leave it to n. And the space complexity would be the same because we are creating a slice run here as the length of the string. So we have on. And yeah, that's it for this problem. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any question or comment or anything, please leave one below, and see you later, guys. Ciao ciao.